Good morning, everyone. Hello and happy Tuesday. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. If you celebrated Memorial Day and you got to take yesterday off as a holiday, then I hope you enjoyed some time to relax. And we are officially at the end of the school year. Our kids are done with school, so today is their kind of official first day of summer where they would normally go to school, but they don't have to. So kind of exciting around here, and the weather is going to turn around this week, so that's going to be wonderful as well. What are you looking forward to this summer? What kind of plans do you have ahead? We've got at least one vacation planned, and my oldest daughter and I are headed to Dallas for nationals for volleyball, so that'll happen at the end of June. And then we've got our family vacation in July, so I've got lots of things to look forward to this summer. Plus, it's our anniversary coming up and my birthday. They happen within 7 days of each other, so I get all of those fun celebrations in the summer as well. And then we had a pretty big weekend of celebrations. So Henry's birthday was on Sunday, and he turned 8. And he can say 8, so it was pretty cute. We asked him many times, "How old are you?" 8. So he loved singing happy birthday or having happy birthday sung to him. So we had fun with that this weekend at his party. And then we had lots of family birthdays to celebrate yesterday as well. So it was a weekend of celebration for sure. Let's say hi to a few people who are popping in today. Just a reminder, I did announce this last week, but we will be moving our live streams to YouTube only. So currently we're streaming in both Facebook and YouTube. Facebook has made some changes to where they're going to be deleting live streams after they're posted, I think 30 days later. And we found that we get a better experience through YouTube anyway. So we're going to be moving our live streams over to YouTube. You will still be able to access them through Facebook. So we will post the link to the YouTube live on Facebook. So you can always check that out and click through to the YouTube video, but we're going to be doing that in the next couple weeks here, so you'll hear me talk about this a few more times, but we think that will give you a better experience viewing, and it will allow us to see all of the comments in one place. Everybody can be conversing together instead of in two separate locations, so we're looking forward to making that change. Hello, Amy. Deneen is here today, Amrita. Trisha's here. Hi, Chris. Oh, your daughter is headed to Dallas for nationals as well. Yes. Tracy, good morning. Hello, Angela. Dawn is here, and Deb. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys are here today because it is the last Tuesday of the month. Everybody shout, wherever you're from, what's the last Tuesday of the month, or wherever you're sitting. It is the release of our card making kit. Woo! Yes. And you might have already seen today, but we have totally snailed it with this kit. We are super excited to get this Snailed It kit out into your hands to see what you do with it. The design team has had so much fun creating. I've had so much fun creating using these cute little snails. So actually Heather Nichols designed this kit, and she did an amazing job. I remember reaching out to her and saying, "What do you think about snails? And I'd really like to do these cute little garden snails. Please, no slime trails, no like icky squishy bodies." Like, I know snails aren't the cutest critters in real life. They are pretty amazing, but they're not the cutest. And so I wanted to make sure that we depicted these snails in the cutest way possible. So you won't see any slime trails, no goo, no weird bodies and faces. So we're pretty excited about the snails, and Heather did an amazing job kind of bringing all of this to life. So I'm excited to share it with you and get crafty together. And do I have any more announcements today before I don't think so, Whit.
No, you're good to go.
Let's get going then. It looks like I'm going to start off with the bundle that we are offering today. I can see that Kimberly says she bought the full release already this morning, and Kelly's got hers. Very, very fun. So this is what our Shell Yeah bundle looks like. You can purchase the kit on its own, or our bundle includes the kit plus all of the extra products that we've designed to kind of add versatility. So you can get by with buying the kit and creating amazing projects with the kit ingredients, or if you want to add extras like more sentiments, or in some cases we have an extra die that coordinates or adds versatility, you can grab those by getting the bundle or picking and choosing individually from the items that you would like. So that's our Shell Yeah bundle to go with this kit. Mila got her bundle this morning too. Gloria is loving the kit as well. If you did watch our release reveal video, then that is where I went through the full contents of the kit. This is what the Snailed It kit looks like. You can find the photos on the website that show you and tell you in the description what comes in this kit. So I'm not going to spend time going through all of this, but I do want to show you some of the inspiration. Some of my favorites from the design team. This one from Lori Craig. If you didn't see this in our release reveal video, then I want to make sure you see it now because it is so cute. I love how she used that arched rainbow stencil in the background. And then this is one of the add-on dies, the blooms and shrooms, that you can create fun die-cut flowers to go with those little snails. They're actually big enough that the snails could perch on top of the flowers, or they can kind of travel underneath the flowers. And I am going to be getting a lot of use out of this particular sentiment. Sorry, I'm slow. Happy belated birthday. I think every birthday card I send is belated, unfortunately. It's just me. It's not that I'm not thinking of them.
Season.
Yeah, I am thinking of you on your birthday and just not getting a card in the mail right at the moment. Or actually, it needs to be like a week ahead of time.
Right.
That's the problem.
What it is. Yeah.
Yes. If I could hand deliver every birthday card, then I would be on time. All right, let's check out a couple others. This one from Heather. Love this. You are going to see in her YouTube video this week how she created 3 cards using these kit ingredients. I love how Heather chooses a color story and then she uses the products in multiple different ways. So you'll see on this one, she used the background of that stamp and stencil combo. She didn't actually cut the snails out. On this one, she cut those snails out, put them in their own little garden. I love that. And on this one, she added some of the add-on die cuts, the blooms and shrooms, and kind of made a little scene with those snails on top of the mushrooms and underneath. So, so cute. So you can check out Heather's YouTube video on how she created all of these 3 cards. And then lastly, I promised during my release reveal video, I showed you the card that we would be creating on the live today. It is a simple gatefold card. You might notice I did change the sentiment. I found this one in my collection and I thought it was just so perfect. We've got our cute little snails at the bottom here. If friends were flowers, now let's open it up. I did just as I said and decorated the inside. So if friends were flowers, I'd pick you, opening up to this full garden of flowers using lots of products from the kit, but also from previously released items that you can pair with the kit products in order to create this fun gatefold card. So really simple, just a little something different than your typical A2 fold, and it's easy to make. So we're gonna create this together today. Should we get started?
Woo woo! I've never made a gatefold. This is my first
You've
time.
never done it. Okay, how many of you out there have made a gatefold before? Again, it's really simple. Sometimes we just need that reminder to try something a little different, and that's what I was going for here. We can make the normal fold cards because they just come to mind easily, and we know exactly where to score and fold, but this one is not hard, and so hopefully this can just put a little bug in your ear, put a little snail in your path, and make you think about creating something a little bit different. Okay, so we're gonna get started with the stamp, and I'm gonna take that off of the panel here and grab my Misty. All right.
Lots of snail funnies going on.
I know.
Let's celebrate. Snail, yeah.
So many snail puns out there. All right, so let's pick up this stamp with the lid. And then I'm gonna take my 6x6 piece of paper and we're gonna put that right over the top here. And then I need to put a little bit of adhesive in the base of my Misty onto the grid paper so that I can flip this over, pick it up, and have it right in the position where I need it. Now, one little tip I wanted to give you guys, we're not actually going to do this on this particular project today, but one of my favorite things to do that I have done with this is to emboss those details of the stamp in white embossing powder. But I wanted to give you guys a little tip on how to do that. It is in your tailored tutorial in the kit, but you'll notice that when you emboss white onto white cardstock, it can be kind of difficult to see those alignment squares and to see the details of your stamp because it's white on white. So what I explained in my tutorial was that if you're planning to emboss like I did, white on white, and then blend over the top, I would recommend just taking your black or whatever, you know, some kind of color that's easy to see, and just inking those alignment squares first and stamping those down onto your paper. See how we can now see the alignment squares perfectly? We don't have to wash our entire stamp. We can just wipe those little alignment squares, and then the rest can be stamped in Versamark and then embossed with white embossing powder. So that's what I would do if I were going to emboss. Heather did it on her projects too. And you can see she's got that white embossing powder. So just a little tip to make sure you can see those alignment squares really well before you stamp and emboss with your Versamark. Now, like I said, we're not going to do that for this project today because I stamped the details of my little snails in sour gummy ink. So I'm going to take that now and go ahead and ink up the background. Lisa says she's only made one gatefold and it was for her parents' 50th anniversary. I mean, that's a good occasion for a gatefold. Okay. I've already misplaced my Just Press tool and I haven't even used it today.
No stress.
No stress, just press if you can find it. I still think I have something, if we could find an attachment, like attach it to my waist.
Yes!
Like on one of those cords that you use for IDs and to get in and out of the building. You just need like a cord, a corded press tool.
You would look so cool.
I would look cool.
Your kids would totally want you to pick you up from school.
Yeah, I'd forget to take it off after my crafting session, and then my kids would be like, "What is on your waist?" Oh, nothing. Don't stress. It's just my press tool.
Just press.
Okay, we can take this out of the Misty now, and we're going to go ahead and blend our snails. You can see we've got those alignment squares to help us. This isn't a super easy pattern to line up without the squares, especially if you're starting with this first layer, because these are the snail bodies. So we want to use those alignment squares and also use our visual cues. So we should be able to see how it's lining up with that stencil or with those stamped details. I've got that in place here, and we'll go ahead and tack it down. I think I'm missing my teal tape.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Whitney will be right back.
Teal
Yes,
tape.
Lori says it needs to be called a leash, a press tool leash. I need to put it on a leash.
Those press tools.
I think I remember one occasion where I put my child on one of those leashes when we went to the fair.
Oh, yes.
I was so nervous that, you know, we would
They
lose
would get
them.
lost.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
they had those backpack leashes, I think.
Yes.
Yes, it was a thing.
It was.
Now I still worry about them getting lost, but they're too big to put on leashes now. All right, Toffee ink for this first layer. this first layer of snail bodies. The great thing about this stamp and stencil combo is that you can also use it without the stamp. So you can use the stencil by itself if you just want snails that don't have shell designs, or if you want to pick and choose your shell design. We have included the shell designs in the clear stamp set as well. So you can kind of pick and choose what color you want for the shell design. If you start by just stenciling first, you don't have to use the stamp. The other great thing about these and the versatility, I know not everyone is into putting faces on their critters and such, but we do have the faces in the clear stamp, and they're super easy to put on or to stamp onto the bodies if you want them, but the snails still look great without them as well, so you don't have to put faces on things. Me personally, I love little faces on all of my critters. All right, so there's Toffee. Got my glassboard buddy. We've been working on a fun addition for the glassboard buddy. So if you haven't picked one of these up yet, this is our magnetic little stand that holds your ink pad, but you can also put your little embellishments in there. It has a pour spout coming out of the end, so you can easily pour those back in. It has been something that has not left my glassboard since we released it. Okay. Let's go on to layer 2. This layer we're going to start with Strawberry Milkshake. I think I've said this before, but you guys probably have heard me talk about how we make our own rubber stamps in-house. I love doing products in rubber because I think it gives such a great stamping experience. You don't have to condition the rubber. It's ready to use right out of the package. It is long lasting. It cleans up incredibly well. And you can get really good intricate details from rubber. One of the things with rubber, if you didn't know this, is it shrinks when you mold it. So when we make coordinating products that go with a rubber stamp, we take into consideration a certain amount of shrink on the artwork. And it's not an exact science though. So I think you guys, if you've been around, you've maybe heard me say this. But if you're finding that those alignment squares on the stamp don't line up exactly, they may not line up exactly because of the variation in the shrink of the rubber stamp. But my tip is to split the difference. So instead of making sure one side is completely lined up and pushing the other side off, what I find to work best is to split the difference. So kind of even out if there is any difference. Sometimes there's not, and sometimes there is. So just even it out from side to side and you will get a perfect alignment that way. Okay, so that was Strawberry Milkshake on the second layer. Now we're gonna do Watermelon as a little bit of an accent to this by just adding some of that darker color in here. And I'm trying to hit only the snail shells because those little flowers, I want to keep the flowers pink so that we can put a darker center inside of those. So I want those to stay lighter, but I do want to add some of this darker color into the snail shells and maybe a little bit of the mushroom tops.
Watermelon is so vibrant.
I know, it's a great red, especially for bright summery things. Mm-hmm. Cherry Pop is more of our kind of primary traditional red color, works great for Christmas, and Watermelon has a little more of a brightness to it. Okay. Let's move on to layer 3. Starting to see the design come together. I love that. Carol said we need to make the press tool magnetic. And actually, I appreciate that suggestion. There is a very good reason that it's not magnetic because our Misty, we often like to use a magnet to hold our paper in place. And when we're rubbing across the top of our Misty, it moves the magnet around if it has...
No way!
I know. If it has a magnet inside of the Just Press tool, it would move the magnet around on your paper, and we don't want to do that. So
that sounds dangerous.
Yes. We want to keep that paper in place, so we probably won't be putting a magnet inside, but I do appreciate that thought. We have had that same one. Okay, so layer 3, we're going to do sweet corn. Another color that I am loving for summer. Sweet corn is bright and a little bit more golden than pineapple. So I've been pulling this one out a lot in my summer rainbows especially. I would say my nails are pineapple. Not quite as golden as sweet corn. My kids told me not to do yellow again. It wasn't their favorite. I know.
I love
But
yellow.
I've gotten so many compliments on my yellow nails when I'm just out and about in town, and yeah. My kids are at that age where they like to tell me that all the things that I do are wrong. So,
oh, that's
you know,
so nice of them.
I know. I take it with a grain of salt, but... All right, just yellow on that layer. We don't have to do anything, any other coordinating color on that one. And then our final layer is going to be blue raspberry and sour gummy. We're going to do a little bit of both. This one you should really be able to see exactly where that fits in with what you've already blended onto the stencil, so take your time. It's not a race to get the stencil in place. I mean, maybe it is for me. That rhymed too. It's not a race to get it in place. Maybe it is for me because you all are watching me, but I can sit and fiddle with a stencil with the best of them. So don't feel like you have to, you know, quick. Really take your time to visualize and look, and you will get a better result that way. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of blue raspberry, and I'm going to try to avoid these little, there are circles in the centers of the small flowers, and I don't want them to be blue over the top of my pink because that will make purple and kind of introduce another color into my artwork that I'm not wanting to introduce. So I'm using these bitty brushes to just kind of select the places where I want my blue raspberry. And then we'll come back with our bitty brush for the watermelon color that's going to go over the top of the flowers to make the centers a little bit darker. I've loved all the different color combinations that the design team has come up with using these too. It's always fun to have lots of options for using color. And these snails look good in lots of colors.
Yes.
Speaking of looking good in certain colors, has anybody out there had their colors done? I know that's been a recent kind of addition to fashion, is having your colors done at a color house where you go in and you have to wear zero makeup when you go in. And yeah, did you know that? Yeah, zero makeup so that they can look at the true color of your skin tone, and then they lay swatches over you while they determine what your color is. And then they kind of put them into groupings. You're either a spring, a winter, a summer, or an autumn.
That sounds really fun.
I know. I really want to do it. They're booked all the time. I was going to do it for Mother's Day, kind of, hey, happy Mother's Day to me. But I looked at appointments and there were none. So I still got to get doing that. My birthday's coming up. Maybe I should look again for appointments. Oh, Sarah says getting her colors done was the best money spent. It makes shopping for clothes and makeup a breeze. I love that. I mean, I have some ideas of what colors I like best on me, but I guess I kind of want to see if it's validated. All right, coming back in with that watermelon brush to hit those little flower centers on the 4th layer. And you can see that the details are far enough apart where I didn't have to use any kind of masking to blend these on. So you could also do them in the sour gummy or the blue raspberry, and they would just create more of a purple center since it's going over the top of pink, and that would look good too. Ta-da! Look at that. So cute. Yeah, Linda says it was popular back in the early 80s to have your colors done. That was Linda F. And then Linda S says it used to be a home party. Wouldn't that be fun as a home party?
Yes!
Do we need another business? We could do sisters color home parties.
We might be a tad busy for
Yeah.
for that.
Yep.
But I'll attend one.
I know. Anybody that wants to do that or finds out if people are doing that, let us know, because we would be attendees. That's fun.
Someone else said that there's a book that you can
Oh,
buy
a book.
that will help you walk
Help
through.
you do it yourself, kind of?
Yes.
Huh. Okay, let's go ahead and pull out the die cut machine, and now I'm going to show you this Snailed It cutting plate die. So when we make what we call a cutting plate, it is designed as one piece that cuts out all of the little elements of the design. Some of our cutting plates cut a design, some of them coordinate with other products and cut out, in this case, all the snails, flowers, and mushrooms. So there are no alignment squares on the die because you can see through to the artwork. So I'm going to get my tape here and get everything all lined up. This is another step that I encourage people to take your time, shift it around. Also, adhere it in a couple different places. When you have a plate this big that's coordinating with this many products, it's easy, if you only tack it down in one place, it's easy for the other places to shift while you're sending it through. So tacking it down at least on 2 sides is what I recommend. Then let's go ahead and cut all these little guys out. Cute, cute, cute. Love it. All right. I love it when it stays in the die for me too. It at least makes the transferring easier. So then we can just pop all of those out. And we've got the most adorable little garden.
Ah! They're so cute. Are you going to pop faces on these little guys?
Yes. Maybe not all of them right now. That's the other great thing, is you can kind of decide based on your project. You know, you can cut these out and save some of them for later. Maybe you don't want faces for a future card, but I'm going to pick out the 2 that I'm going to be using on this project. I need one that's facing left or facing right and one that's facing left, and I want one of them to be a rainbow snail. So I've got a couple right facing or left facing options, something like that. So these 2 are going to be the 2 that I am going to stamp faces onto. The rest of these little guys, I think we're done blending, so I'm gonna just put them right up in my glass board buddy. And this should be the time that I show everybody in case you didn't see this in the release reveal, but I loved this card that Jill made where she popped faces on everything. Look at this little garden in the center, the mushrooms and the little flowers. Everything has a face, and I think that is just so fun and whimsical and cute. Jill, as you know, if you've seen Jill's projects, she has an affinity for googly eyes. So she will often put googly eyes on things that don't even have eyes. So she makes googly eye sunshines and all kinds of fun things.
I love it. That makes me so happy.
I know. There's just something about googly eyes that makes me smile. So this is the clear set that comes in with the stamp and stencil combo. So it's a stamp, stencil, and clear combo. We included 4 faces. There are actually 2 that are smaller and 2 that are larger, but we have found that they are pretty interchangeable. Even on the smaller snails, you can fit the larger face. You can put the smaller face on the larger snail. It's not going to make a huge amount of difference. So just think of it like I have 4 faces. I can lose 3 of them and still use this stamp set. So yes, try not to lose them, but they are teeny tiny. I would recommend putting them in some kind of maybe storage envelope or something like that. So we're putting a couple little faces on here, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. How cute. So we've got our little snail grouping ready to go on the card. Now we get to create the fun gatefold design. So in creating a gatefold, you are going to start with the same size you would start with if you were making a side fold A2 card. So normally our side fold cards are 5.5 by 8.5. This one, you do not want to score down the middle. Instead, we're going to score evenly on each side so that we can fold that together to meet up in the center, and that's called a gatefold. So I am going to give you a little bit of math today and also an easier way. If you have a score buddy or a score pal, the great thing about this is it has some special markings on it for you to be able to create a gatefold card. Do you see that little dot right there? That measures at 2 1/8, and that is the measurement you need to score if you are making a gatefold. And I love that it is all figured out for us here on this board, so I can just put my cardstock in, score on that dotted piece, and then turn it around and score again. Now, if you don't have one of these boards that has the dot on it, then you just need to remember 2 1/8 is the measurement you need to score on each side of this piece. So 2 1/8, if you forget that number, there's an easy way to also get to that number. So if you're making an A2 card, we know that it's 4 1/4 across the top, and a gatefold we want to fold down the center. So you would take your 4 1/4 divided by 2, and that's how I got the 2 1/8. So lots of ways to think about that. And hopefully that will help you, if you're making a 5 by 7 card. So if you're making a larger card that's 5 inches across on the top and you want to make it a gatefold, just divide that 5 inches by 2. 2 1/2 is where you're going to score for a 5 by 7 gatefold. Lots of different types of gatefolds you can make. You can even do kind of a long one, like we would make our top folding cards, and you can fold in from the side. So it's really easy to create any size gatefold that you want, but I do love how this Score Buddy just gives us the measurement we need with this dot. It says, hey, I'm right here. Score me right on this dot. So you can see I just scored one end, flipped my paper, scored the other end. So I came in 2 1/8 from each side, and we're going to go ahead and give that a nice crease. Sometimes I do find that the bone folder that comes with the Score Buddy isn't quite as good of a crease as I love this one that we carry at the TE store. It has a sharper end and a flatter end, and I feel like I get a really good crease with that. So sometimes I'll come in with a second bone folder. I know you guys are with me. You all have multiple tools that do the same thing, and some of them we just like better than others. So Charlie says, I lost her at math. I said the word and she was out. All right, so here it is. 2 1/8 from each side gives you this gatefold design. Now we're gonna do some stamping on our gatefold. You can, I know some of you are probably gonna ask, you can stamp first and then do your gatefold, but I really wanted to be able to position my stems perfectly where I knew that fold would be. So I'm gonna give you some other tips how to keep this flat while we're stamping on it. And, but you can of course try stamping on your cardstock. It would just be a little bit more difficult, and you would have some overrun off of the back of your cardstock because you'd basically be stamping the back and then folding it over towards the front. Okay, so I am going to set this piece down into my MISTI. I want to position it a little bit up from the bottom so that my stems from the Hold My Blooms set can hang off the bottom just a little bit. And also sometimes there can be a little tiny gap between here. So Whit, can you grab my Scotch removable labeling tape?
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm gonna put a little piece of masking tape underneath here just in case there's any ink that seeps through. I don't want it to get behind my gatefold. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this removable labeling tape and we'll go ahead and tear it. I do that a lot. And just tack it down. We're not really inking up here at the top, but that's gonna keep it down on my MISTI panel as well. Then we'll go ahead and tack this closed. Let's take a little bit of removable adhesive and put it on the inside here. And then this magnet can hold the rest in place. So we have that perfectly down and ready to stamp. Now the other thing that I would recommend having if you're going to create like I am doing here is our MISTI clear alignment grid panels. So I'm gonna actually place this down on top. This is gonna help me make sure that I have the flower or the stems exactly where I want before I stamp them. And this is just me being extra careful, but I'm gonna put a little line down here so that I can see where that cut line is. And I can even position my grid line so that it follows, this grid line follows the cut line. All of this is gonna make sense in just a second when we take this Hold My Blooms and we're gonna position it right onto this panel, but I'm going to make sure that I have kind of just a little bit of overlap. I wanna make sure that this little flower down here, I think, maybe I went this way first. Sorry, I'm pulling back in my card. No, I definitely did this first. Okay, we're just gonna push this all the way to the bottom. And I want that little leaf to just overlap the front cut line. So there's one leaf that kind of pokes out here. It's just overlapping that cut line. And we're gonna take this and pick it up, kind of try to make sure those stems are straight across the bottom. And we're gonna do a rough inking and stamp it down onto our alignment panel because that's not permanent yet on our card. We can still move that around if we want to. Just like that. I think that looks great. So this little bit is going to come over to the other side of the gatefold. What I'm trying to avoid is having a stem land right on that cut line. So it doesn't really matter exactly where you position this, but that's what you want to avoid, is that stem being right directly on that cut line. So having a little bit of overlapping leaf is okay. And we're gonna go ahead and take this out now. And we'll stamp it onto the card with the lime zest ink. And I'm gonna not stress, or just press. Perfect. Cute, cute. Okay, now let's wipe this stamp because we need to stamp it again. And I don't want to set a dirty stamp down on my stamped panel. Okay. Then I'll take my dry cloth and just wipe it. If you catch it fast enough, like you don't let the ink dry onto the stamp, I can usually get enough of the ink off using my baby wipe that I don't have to get out my full cleaner. But when I'm ready to put it away and not use it anymore, that's when I use my Stampers Spritz. Or if I really need to make sure I get that ink color off before I use another color. All right, in this case, we are gonna come over here to this side. I might need to move this guy just a little bit so that I can have my stamp fit all the way on the other side of this. Magnet. The great thing about this stamp is it is positioned so that you can continue to stamp it over and over. We have this small leaf that's going to tuck right in over here, just like this. Okay. Let's pick that up, put our alignment down again just to make sure. Stamp that roughly. Looks perfect. Love it when I don't have to move it around, but easy to move around if you need to. Whitney, was that you talking about how the Misty alignment panels are your most used thing?
I have this fear of crooked sentiments.
You're not alone.
It's a valid fear
It
for
is.
me. I get to the end and I'm so scared to put on the sentiment.
Yes.
I have a lot of half-done projects.
Just without sentiments on them?
Yes, and then I need to pull out my alignment panels and just sentiment all of my half-done projects.
I do love the Misty alignment panels. I mean, a lot of our stamps have coordinating dies, and if you're going to die cut the sentiment, then you don't have to worry so much about exact placement. But when you want to stamp that sentiment directly onto the card, then you definitely want to make sure that you're not ruining your beautiful card with your crooked sentiment. All right, let's go ahead here. We're going to take this middle part out, and now we're going to create the inner garden. I'm going to do this one a little bit faster. We don't have to worry so much about where that center cut line is. So we're just going to position and stamp these straight across there. We do have to kind of finagle our Misty a little bit because our stamp needs to fit all the way on one edge. Got to get rid of that adhesive that was inside here holding this down. But because we need our stamp to fit in the Misty, we need to kind of overhang this side here. And I'm going to position that down, hold it in place here. I cleaned my stamp already, so that's good. And to just kind of make sure that that stem isn't directly on the fold line, that's going to help us with our flower placement. We'll go ahead and pick that up. If you again want to make sure that it is, at least the stems are straight, you can use that alignment panel. I think I'm okay. I'm gonna just chance it. I'm living on the edge, as Susan would say. And we're gonna go ahead and stamp this down with the lime zest. Move. Actually, I don't think we need to move this time. We just need to clean our stamp again. Fair bit of cleaning going on today. Not something I usually do very often.
You got that spring cleaning bug just right before summer hits. I always get this huge spring cleaning bug.
Well,
Woo!
It's kind of pushed us this year that Mom's doing a garage sale this weekend.
Yes.
So we've had to get all of our stuff ready for her to sell it for us. So that's happening.
So, gotta do it.
I know. I used to do a lot of local advertising for my garage sales because I had so much crafty stuff. And now I don't have any crafty stuff. It's all here at the office.
You have a lot of kids' clothes.
A lot of kids' clothes, toys, yes. A lot of that kind of stuff. Housewares. I think we moved 2 years ago this month, and I decided that home decor items that had not been out of the box for 2 years needed to go to the garage sale. So there's that.
That's a good decision.
Right? I thought so.
They just clutter our life sometimes. And when they don't have a spot, then...
Yes. Or they just end up heaping on the guilt. Like I have boxes of these things that I'm not using right now. I should, knowing I either don't have time to figure out what to do with them or where to put them or all the things.
That's one of the hard things about moving, is you don't know if your decor is going to fit in with your next house.
Yes.
I mean, we came from the mountains to Iowa, so none of my...
Nothing
transferred.
All right, we're going to move this over, kind of trying to follow the line a little bit so that when I place this one down, it's going to be straight across there, just tucking that little leaf in, and it's really easy to continue this as a seamless style pattern. All right, one last inking. This top-lidded Misty using is new for me, so I suppose I could still use it sideways, but my brain just doesn't work like that. I have to see the design right side up. All right, now you see right here on this fold line where I didn't quite get a full stamp of ink, the ink is still on the stamp. So I'm just gonna take and press that down in a couple places that didn't quite get fully inked. Got a little bit more here, really press in that one spot, and then that fills it all in. All right, we did it. Easy peasy. Kind of a fun way to continue the garden from the outside to the inside. And now we get to do a little more stamping and assembling of our design. So I'm going to start with the front here, and you guys will be happy to know that I did already die cut the pieces that we'll be using for this. Otherwise, you'd be sitting here watching me do these die cut flowers for a while.
Die cut, repeat.
Die cut, repeat. I know. Once I pick a color combination, it is kind of fun to just get out the colors of the cardstock and just start cutting. I know that's something Heather does often. That's kind of how her creative mind and creative process works, is by just taking her color combination and just cutting, blending, doing all the things, and then you have enough pieces that you can probably make multiple projects. So let's start on the front here. I'm going to hold this down with my magnet, and then we're going to start arranging. So let's try Tiny Red over here. And it's okay for them to overlap the edge. We'll just trim that part off. And of course, it is also okay for it to slightly overlap our cut edge as well. You don't want it to overlap incredibly, and we need to make sure that when we adhere this, we don't actually put adhesive across the cut line, because that will, of course, make it impossible for your card to open if you have adhered it closed. Maybe we'll go with a small one there again. Going a little bit away from my original layout here. Something like that. Cute. Okay, let's put them down. Whitney, did you do any gardening this weekend or any outdoor yard work stuff?
My husband did. I made them clean up the front yard and make it look all fancy. But I haven't been able to find time to get out my flowers yet.
Yes.
I need to get all my big pots out. Do you have any of your planters and stuff?
Did you see when you were at our house that the gift you guys, that the staff gave us for Christmas?
Yes, I was going to ask about that.
Yes, it arrived last week. So
wow.
Our amazing staff here gave John and I the gift of flowers for Christmas, and it's the service that delivers the planters right to your house, and then they switch them out at the seasons. So we got our summer planters for our front porch on Friday last week, and they look beautiful.
That is a genius service.
I know, for people like us, for sure.
It's really hard because I need to find time, and if I take my children to go buy flowers, they will literally want to buy everything, but then everything will die in the little flower containers because nobody wants to help put them into the ground.
Oh, right.
So I'm like, no!
Oh, Trisha moved her plumeria trees outside.
Woo!
Oh, Lisa says trimming the overhang gives me anxiety. You know, I can get on board with that. I can see how it would be, you know, you don't want to mess it up at this point. I just use typically a long bladed scissors. Let me grab one here. And you can use a paper trimmer, depending on what I'm cutting and how much of it. I decide whether I want to use a scissors or a paper trimmer, but just kind of resting that blade right along the edge that you're cutting. And you know, you can go slowly too. If you only want to cut one of the flowers, just position your whole blade over that. These are even a little bit harder because I'm also cutting through that flower center. So just take your time, cut slowly. All right, so those will go away. Now we can position the ones on the inside. Let's see. Open this up. Loving this little magnet today. Even my little guys over here can keep the card open for me. All right, so we want to be careful over this fold line that we don't have a flower there. So to avoid that, I am going to use my stamped flowers on these two here. So those both need to be stamped. And then let's go here. Let's do this big red one. These two, maybe just this one needs to be stamped. So I can put this guy right here And then this one is going to be a stamped flower. And then this would overlap. Looks like I need another little flower, which I thought I had cut enough of. Whitney, I might need your emergency services.
Yes!
Yes, let's get the rest of these figured out, and then I will have you cut me. That one's going to be stamped. Let's do stamped there. So let's go with a sour gummy mini flower.
Okay.
And I don't need a center because I have one.
All right.
So we're going to put that sour gummy right here. And I've got the center that can go on it. I am going to grab my, oh, I thought I had a pencil, but I'm going to go find a pencil. Hold, please. Thank you, Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I dropped it. Okay, we got that sour gummy, and we'll go ahead and put the flower center on here. And that one's going to sit right here. Okay. Now, before we glue these down, I want to do the stamping on the other stems. These are the stems where the stamp would, or the die cut would overlap my fold line and make it hard to close. So I am just going to put a little dot on top of all of the ones that I am going to stamp. And we're going to move this over into the Misty again. We're going to do our top stamping. Okay. All right, so let's grab my stamp set. I brought in another supply that I thought looked great with these flowers. This one's called Bits and Blooms. I know lots of our fans out there have this one because it was part of Stamp Joy this year. So some of these smaller areas I'm going to stamp with a little heart bloom. Add to the whimsy of this. I'm going to do this first one with yellow. And you can do this with the Misty, or you can do it with the acrylic block. Just line up that etch line on the block with the kind of point of the stamp, and then you know exactly where to stamp this. And let's do this one over here. We'll do yellow again. And this one. Okay. Now I'm going to take one of the bigger flowers from the set. This one right here. This one I think I'm going to set up in the Misty. It'll just be a little bit easier. Move that out of the way. Pick that up and stamp with Strawberry Milkshake. This one. Whoop. Strawberry Milkshake on this one. And you can see where that crease line didn't pick up some of that ink. So I'm first going to try just pushing extra hard into that crease line, and it picked up the ink beautifully, and that looks good. So this one's going to move back into place here. I've got one more little one here. Let's go ahead with our heart again, and we'll just do it in a different color. I'm going to do this one in Sour Gummy. Got to wipe the yellow off here.
Ooh, I did something crazy last night.
What?
I tried a new pizza topping.
What is it?
Spinach.
Oh, you haven't had spinach on your pizza, huh?
Is that weird? I don't know.
I like
spinach, and then it was like put in the oven.
Tomatoes and
Yes.
spinach. Yeah, I love that.
Oh, it was so good. My kids called it garbage pizza. They were like, what do you have on there? None of the good stuff is on that pizza. I'm over here just like, this is the best pizza I've ever had. Spinach and tomatoes and all these veggies. So good.
I do love veggie pizza. Do you like mushrooms?
Yes, I do.
I like mushrooms too. And I love mushrooms with spinach and usually a little bit of onion and green pepper. All right, this time we're gonna go ahead and put the heart down. Because it's slightly overlapping the crease line, I wanna make sure that I have the ability to stamp it more than once if I need to. So that's why I put this one down in the Misty. And I didn't need to. And then our last one, let's go with that bigger flower again, kind of over on the side here. And we'll do that with, let's do watermelon. So is this too complicated for everyone? Or do you like this kind of fussing with the design and figuring out where things fit? I like it. I had so much fun building this little card.
I love it. I think it's so cute.
Okay, there we go.
I feel like I would put this card on my desk. Just like open
open it up and show
Yes.
the inside. Yeah,
Make
that
me
would be
think
cute.
I'm in my garden. Just
Love it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and glue these down. Tried to keep them in place as much as possible so that I know where they go. Barbara likes complicated. Okay, good. And Amrita says not too complicated. I know sometimes complicated and maybe time consuming are two different things. So this does take a little bit of time, but it is not overly complicated to do. And then I'm going to show you guys where I found this fun sentiment to add to this card, which I thought was just perfect for a little garden scene, which is why I changed it from my original sentiment that I used when you saw the card in the release reveal video. When you have so many flowers, like you do on this project, a sentiment that says, when friends are flowers, I'd pick you, feels like the perfect one. So that is from our, I've got mine in my little box here. It's from Mini Strips Floral. And I'm just gonna grab this one. If friends were flowers, I think my I Pick You got buried under here. There we go. I didn't love the white on white for the sentiments, so I grabbed something that I haven't used actually in a while. This is our Mini Strips backer die, and when you cut these out, it creates a backer for all of the mini strips. So a backer is just kind of a layer, something that creates a layer around the outside of the sentiment, and it's gonna set that off from whatever your pattern or project is. I don't know why I don't grab it more often, because I do love the look of the sentiment on the backer. I like to use glue because that gives you just a little bit of time to get it cemented in place there. Now my If Friends Were Flowers, I gotta figure out which one this goes in. This one. All right. So I'd Pick You is gonna go on the inside, right centered in that middle panel. Just like this. Kind of visualize the center if you pull your edges up just a touch. And then this one is too long to fit on either side, so pick a side to glue it down. You can either glue it on this side or you can glue it on this side, but don't glue it on both sides because then your card won't open. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere just the left side of the sentiment. Make sure I don't have any adhesive peeking out and that it's straight. And push it over even just a little bit more. There it is. We forgot our snails, or I forgot our snails. Let me put them down here at the bottom of our garden. You could even pop these up. I think I'm going to pop them up. They deserve to be front and center. Oh, I love that tip. When we first came out with the backers, we did encourage people to do that, so I'm glad that you're doing it, Amrita. She said that before she takes her backers apart or before she cuts them, she likes to number them on the back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 through 10, so that after you cut them, you can save the extras and you know which position it coordinates with. So it coordinates with every single mini strips. Whatever's in the second line down will work with the number 2 down backer. So that's a great tip for being able to save those extras and use them later and know which ones they go with. So, all right, there it is. If friends were flowers, I'd pick you. So fun. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today, for spending a little time. Oh, and then here's a little bonus for making it all the way to the end. I created this card last week, had fun pulling in one of our Rainbow Bright dies. I don't know, it just looked like the snail needed to be on a little wave. So just snailing by to say hi. There's another little piece of inspiration for you guys using this particular color combo. Same one. All right, let me say farewell for today and give you an idea of what's coming this week. So Thursday, it's Susan? Is that right?
Susan!
Yes, okay. Thursday, Susan will be live at 10 a.m. Central, so mark your calendar for that. And then I will be back with you guys next week. So always tune in Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Central. I am live. Tuesdays at 9 a.m. is when all of the new release products launch each week. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your May. It went by in a flash, and I am ready to get started with summer here at TE. So keep tuning in, and